often we go over budget. We're relying on a hot market to push values forward. And we're just creating all these bad habits. And that's why we lost. And it's also too why we almost ran out of cash, even though we had made millions, because I just wasn't tracking cash flow.
Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. Well, so Ryan, you've got a lot of really interesting things going on with your platform. You've got a ton of TikTok followers. You've got, you're really hitting social media hard. I think your YouTube has 221,000 subscribers, and Instagram, and you're hitting everything. Talk to us a little bit about your story, how you decided to get into this, and kind of where you came from.
Yeah, so I know the show's a little shorter, so I'll give you like the 2-minute story. I got started playing baseball growing up. I didn't want to get into real estate. I definitely didn't want to be a social media guy. Didn't even exist. All I wanted to do is play pro baseball. And so, I ended up getting drafted by the Oakland A's when I was 21 years old, and, pursued that for many years. I ended up playing in the minor leagues and other professional leagues for 8 seasons. And during that time, many people don't know, but you don't make much money. So I was making $1,200 a month while I was playing, and I didn't really have any money, and I had to learn to kind of live off nothing while pursuing a dream. But that's kind of what led me down to real estate and just entrepreneurship in general. I was doing weird side hustles and things during my time playing. And, I became a realtor when I was 21 just to like try and make some money. I realized I hated being a realtor. And I realized I didn't enjoy many of the things I was doing, but they paid the bills. Like and I can't even say they paid the bills. Like I was living in poverty. I was making probably like 20 grand a year. And so it was just enough to pursue a dream. And eventually, I found house flipping in 2015. And that kind of changed my life because I realized like I was always good at finding deals. I was always good at negotiating, but I just didn't have money. And so eventually I realized like there's all these ways to raise money for deals, and the moment I learned about hard money, that was like an epiphany for me. Like the light switch went off that, wow, I can actually buy these deals that I'm going to find. This is not like reserved for just people who have hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so ended up finding a good deal in 2015, maxed out all my credit cards to fund the down payment on that first flip. I had $10,000 saved up from side hustles and stuff, couch flipping, if anyone's seen that video. And then I had $50,000 worth of credit that was available to me from me and my wife's credit cards. And so I said, you know what, we're just going to do a balance transfer, get all this money in cash and use it as the down payment. And so that's exactly what I did. Bought the first flip, ended up making about $25,000 on that first deal. And it just like, from there, my life was changed. I was like, wow, if I just did this like a few times a year, I could make $100,000. And so that was my goal. I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. And so that first year I flipped 5 houses. The next year I flipped 20 houses, made $200,000 that year. It was like unbelievable. Most money ever. Like it was just nuts. Next year flipped 50 houses. Year after that flipped almost 150. Then been flipping, 100 plus every year since. And along with the success of flipping houses, all these other businesses started to form because, I just started seeing these other opportunities and people were kind of asking for them, people were like, how do I flip houses? And so I started an education company called Future Flipper. Then people were like, where do I get my taxes done? Like, who's your accountant? And so I started a CPA firm called TrueBooks. Then people would be like, how do I invest with you? So I started a fund, how do I do this? And it's just like I always started a new company for those things like that people kept asking me about. And now we have thousands of clients across all these various companies, thousands of students. But the social media thing ended up happening in 2020 when the pandemic struck. I didn't have a TikTok, I didn't have a YouTube, I didn't have anything. All I had was an Instagram with like 10,000 followers. And, I just remember looking at the world and I was like, what can I do with my time? And eventually I just realized that I thought social media was going to grow even bigger than it currently was, because I thought people were going to be kind of locked in their house with nothing to do, kind of looking for ways to make money. And it turned out to be, I underestimated that that theory. It was like gangbusters. So, I started making videos, kind of just like trying to figure it out. And soon enough, like I just start gaining momentum and like everything's growing and growing and growing. And, as you mentioned today, 2 years later, it's like, I think there's 1.5 million followers across social. And, we have a full production staff and studio and, just making content, every single week. And in turn, it leads to all the businesses growing as well. So it's just like this win-win. We get to help a lot of people making videos, and then in turn, a lot of those people buy our products, and then it just kind of keeps cycling over and over again.
So you make it sound so easy. So you just say, hey, oh, somebody asked me a question. I pop up a company. I pop up a company.
Yeah.
How do you do that though? So effortlessly, it sounds like, in as far as finding people, I mean, you got to hire people, you have to, understand the framework. Talk us through your process a little bit.
Good question. So on the entrepreneur side of things, my business acumen has really developed over the last few years. I think when you're first starting a business, you kind of always start as a hustler, right? And you don't know how to do anything. You don't know how to run an organization. It's just you hustling, making money. And so like, that's how I was for years. It was just like, hey, find more deals, worry about the rest later, right? And didn't have any bookkeeping, didn't know what I was doing on the tax. There was no strategy other than get deals, make money. And I think that's fine for people when they start. Like whatever generates revenue is how your business stays alive. But eventually in 2019, when things changed, 2019, I had the first time I ever lost money flipping. I had a bunch of flips go bad. I didn't lose money for the year. We still made money overall for the year, but like it was the first time I ever like took a punch in the face, because up to that point, I'm like, dude, everything I touch turns to gold, man. This is great. And it took getting punched in the face to really change my ways. And so I remember, of all the bad flips combined, we lost about $500,000 on those deals. And I was like, okay, we need to reevaluate, why did this happen? And I started to look at my business and I realized like, well, we're not tracking our cash flow. We're not tracking, our hold times for our contractors or anything. We're not tracking how often we go over budget. We're relying on a hot market to push values forward. And we're just creating all these bad habits. And that's why we lost. And it's also too why we almost ran out of cash, even though we had made millions, because I just wasn't tracking cash flow or anything. And so I realized I had a problem and I didn't know how to solve it, because nobody ever told me how to truly run a business like the right way. It was just hustling and making revenue. And so I owe so much of this to one of my mentors. His name is Gary Harper. He ended up coming to my office for 3 days. At the time, it cost me like $17,000 to bring him in. And he basically restructured my entire business and said, this is how you run a business from the corporate level. And this is how you build org charts. This is how you build SOPs. Never did any of that stuff before then, right? And he said, this is how you do it. And this is how every company does it. And so I ended up going through that. I realized how to hire people the right way, personality test, creating clearly defined KPIs and things for them to hit. And it all made sense, right? And so I did that in my house flipping business. And, we ended up, having our best year in 2020. And then 2021, we had we doubled. And during that time, I realized like, okay, this whole thing would apply to other businesses as well. And so, when I built my tax company, same deal, right? Who's the CEO? Who's the COO? Here's the departments, who's in charge of what, everything, right? And what I soon learned was, as I was scaling all these businesses simultaneously with the same process, I realized every business is the same. They all have the same issues of, hey, how are we generating leads? How are we closing leads? How are we servicing and fulfilling a product, right? How do we hire the people to get the people to service and do all these things, right? It's all the same. And so it pretty much gave me the confidence that anytime I wanted to start a new, like basically I created an SOP for starting a business. So it's like every business we start, it goes through the streamlined process. Okay, what's the name? What's the logo? What's our mission statement? Who is our avatar or demographic that we're trying to hit? What's the marketing plan going to be? What are the people we need to hire, right? And so it's like now every business we start kind of hits the ground running pretty good, because we've done it so many times at this point that it's like, I don't want to say like I've started an incubator, but it's kind of what it's become. And now what's interesting is at the current level, I had to create like essentially a parent company now, because we have all these companies. And at the parent company level, we basically do everything for the companies that they would have to otherwise do themselves. And it takes away from them like really doing what they do well. So for instance, at the parent company, I have a full-on IT department for all of our tech. I have a media buyer. I have a sales manager. I have our HR. I have legal, finance, all these things that every single business has to do, whether they know it or not. We've streamlined at the top level. And so now every time we want to hire somebody, my business just submits a request to HR, the person is magically delivered to them. Right. Whereas other businesses have to struggle so hard to like go fill voids. Right. And so the CEO or the COO is like out there hunting for people. And then that takes away from them focusing on the business and whatever it is, because they're busy doing all of these tasks that kind of my parent company does. And so, all of the businesses I own, whether I have partners or not, they just love it because it takes so much time and like stress away from them. And they can now focus on growth and doing the things that are going to drive more revenue, more customer fulfillment, more satisfaction, and everything else. So it sounds easy and it's happened really fast, but let me tell you, it is not. It took a lot of time to do all this. And then it took a lot of time to find the people that can like really execute these things at a high level.
One of the challenges, and that, by the way, Ryan, that's incredible that you've been able to build those layers and these companies after figuring out this structure. I mean, that's such a valuable lesson. So every business has single points of failure, and I'm just curious, inside your organization, how have you been able to kind of offset those single points of failure to put yourself in a less risk adverse situation? You talked about it a bit with your parent company. I'm just curious if there's other methods that you're using to kind of help offset that, because that's one of the things obviously that keeps any business owner up at night is, oh, this guy's gone or this thing happens and we're in a really tight spot. And I don't know if I have the time to jump in there and take it over.
100%. So good question. I am constantly thinking about how we could get screwed. For lack of a better word, I'm like, man, okay, to your point, right? If this person dies tomorrow or leaves, or if, this way that we market no longer works anymore, what are we going to do? Right. Is there any third party service we use that like our business is dependent on? If like they go out of business, are we screwed? Right. So I'm always like thinking worst case scenarios. And I think that has made us very resilient, and able to like pretty much go through all the bumps that happen along the way in business, but be kind of not unaffected, but like very smooth through them. Whereas other companies, like they collapse. So I think it first comes with identifying, like you said, places where you're weak. I remember, just to give an example with house flipping, when I first got started, I only bought off the MLS. That was the only way I found deals, right? Then I learned about wholesalers and I only bought from wholesalers. And then I soon learned like, man, there's only so many I can buy. And these guys are like now getting crazy money on the MLS for their houses, and wholesalers are getting crazy money. What am I going to do? And so I start, direct marketing to sellers. And so it just was like this evolution of adapting, but also being resilient in that I'm not going to depend on wholesalers only to get deals. Because if I do, we might go bankrupt, right? Or we're not going to get the deals flow that we want, so always being in control of that. Now, like I think about, this is a big thing I think about now, is like me, like, okay, where am I the source of failure? And within the day-to-day of the companies, I've pretty much removed myself from all of them, so it's like, I'm not needed to go run my education company. Like we've got leaders and coaches and everybody else. That thing runs without me. Same thing with the house flipping. I don't go on appointments. I don't need to underwrite the deals. I trust my team to do what they do. Right. And so it's great on the day-to-day side, but where I know a big hit would be is if I died tomorrow, on the marketing side, what happens? Because if I am the one driving traffic with my social media, what happens? And some companies would be affected more than others. And some were currently in plans to not have succession, but like just, be prepared so that, if I choose to stop making videos tomorrow, which I don't plan to, but, in the event, how can we keep these things going? How can my employees still have jobs? How can this company stand without me? So like, for example, like the biggest one would be Future Flipper, my real estate education company. It's like, okay, that obviously I am the face of it. And so people watch my videos, they want to learn how to invest in real estate. And so they go there. How do I make myself not the face of it, driving traffic? And so what I did was I said, what do we do really well to generate leads now? We're really good at social media. There are some companies that generate all their traffic from affiliates. Some generate it from paid ads. Some do like live events and they try to convert from there. That's cool. But we do social media like probably better than anyone. We're world class at that. And I said, what if we just took our entire back end process with my social media team and instead plug different faces into it? Right. And so what I did was I got all of my best students and coaches who I know are good on camera, who love making videos. And I said, let's create a sole channel for Future Flipper, a YouTube channel. Let's create an Instagram. Let's do all these things. And you guys are going to make all the content for it. We will do the back end. We'll post it. We'll edit it. We'll do everything. All you need to do is make videos. And the benefit for you is you're going to get so much exposure being on this, and you're going to get a lot of content that you can use on your own channel and, your own following. It's going to be great. And sure enough, the theory has worked, in 2.5 months of starting those, the YouTube's got 5,000 subscribers. The Instagram's got like 30,000 followers. And it's not me. And that's the beauty. And like, we're actually launching a podcast this week where guess who's not the host? It's not me. And so, in the end, I'm trying to really proactively remove myself, not because I want to stop doing it. I love training and teaching our students. I love our events. But like, to your point, I know I'm the single source of failure in terms of traffic for that. So how do we eliminate that perspective? Like, at the end of the day, how do we make every business I own potentially sellable? Not that I want to sell, but like build it towards that way so that I'm not needed and it can just print money.
Yeah. You want options. You don't want to be that single source of failure. There's a lot of areas where you as the owner can be that. I mean, I think we were looking through some of the things. I'm like, shoot, I'd have to hire like 7 people just to replace me on certain areas of the business that I'm working on alone, that I'm excelling in. That's a problem. You don't want that because if you're gone the next day, you want to have everything covered. So. Yep. So on that side, so guys, diversification is huge once you start to build your real estate business. Even so, I mean, obviously Ryan has come up such a long ways, far exceeded just the wholesaling business, has gone into different verticals and is now having to think about how to offset things in those verticals. But even as you start your real estate businesses, you may start in the beginning where everybody's wearing a ton of different hats. And the sooner you can figure out how to hire and create processes and procedures around, diversification and in a way that protects yourself, I think the better. It's just super important in general. I'm curious, do you cross-train people as another form of that in avoiding risk?
For multiple companies,
or within the same companies, multiple, you have different people that understand how to do your major tasks, things like that. Cause that's something we found fairly effective and just curious if you guys are doing anything like that.
Yeah. What's interesting is some of my employees, it's very rare, but some will work at 2 companies, especially sales team, because sales are sales at the end of the day. So it's like, yeah, we could sell anything. It's like, just tell us what we're selling. So sales is probably the one where there is some crossover, but what's good for me anyways is that many of my employees have ascended through different roles, so like I look at my COO of Home Run Offer, which is my house flipping company. He started out as, our dispositions guy. Then he was the MLS guy finding deals. Then he was, like some other role. I can't even remember. And then, now he's the COO. So he's like experienced almost every role. So, for instance, our disposition and marketing guy, actually, he was a marketing guy too. That's what it was. So, last 2 weeks, our disposition and marketing guy was out of town in Paris for 2 weeks. Right. And so it was like, all right, what are we gonna do for the next 2 weeks? Right. And he worked a little bit while he was on vacation. He did a good job, but still, like, someone had to fill in the gap while he was gone. And so, Sean, my COO, knows how to fill in the gap. He knows what he does. And so he fills in the gap and it's good. But with that, we still have other people that can chip in and help. Like our TC knows how to help with a lot of the things we're doing. Right. Sales team even like knows how to help. Like, so we have setters and closers, right? So we have the inside sales reps who are just talking to sellers all day on the phone. Then we have the outside sales reps who are going on appointments and doing all that. It's like, yeah, if our outside sales rep can't go on an appointment, one of our inside guys could do it, and they can go close somebody in person. So I think, yeah, everybody is very multi-talented in the same way that I am as well. Like I could kind of step into many roles and do it, but there's actually a lot of roles I can't do. Like, cause I just been so far removed. I don't even know. Like I couldn't even log into our marketing right now. I have no idea how to do it. Like, I don't even have the login. I don't know what I'm looking for. I have no idea how he orders our TV commercials, or like, I have no idea.
That's
I
funny.
also
I when I go to my sites, I don't even have the keys. I'm like, I don't know. Just
yeah,
let me in. Like,
yeah, I have
I
no
don't
idea.
have anything.
And like I don't edit my own videos. Like, I don't know what I'd be doing. So there's so much I don't know, but there are things I could go fill in for. So as long as you have multiple people that can like fill in, like no singular person is the only one who knows how to do that role, you're okay.
Yeah.
And the beauty is too, with having the parent company, they're very aware of all the roles because, like, for instance, HR hires that person. And so it's like HR is building out an SOP, and the only way they build it out is by understanding what that person does. So it's like, theoretically, anybody should be able to step in if they have an SOP and do it. Now, how good they can do it is up for debate, but at least like keep the team functioning.
Yeah, totally. I want to pivot a little bit, Ryan, and I want to talk about something really interesting that you have been diving into called TYKES. What is TYKES?
Yeah, man. So it's why I've got this green hair today. So TYKES is my first ever NFT project, something I'm really excited about. I've been in crypto since 2018 and, started buying NFTs last year in 2021, kind of understanding what's going on with them.
Oh, so you didn't get hit with the crash in the beginning. I bought into the hype in like 2017, right before everything got smashed out.
Well, actually, then I started in 2017. I can't remember.
Okay, so that's what it put it on your radar. I was like mining in like Kansas City. I bought so many miners back then that I got smoked on.
Yeah,
it was crazy. Well, you'd send like Bitcoin Cash to China and just hope that these things would show up on your doorstep, and then these big metal boxes, and then they would. I think I spent like $100,000 through Bitcoin Cash out there, and then all these miners showed up on my doorstep. It's basically paperweights now. That's the S9 ant miners. It was hilarious. That was the first cycle, and I'm like, it was enough. Like, I lost enough money in that time to like put it on my radar, and I learned a ton since then. And so I was able to capitalize this round. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So I got started when you did. When Bitcoin was 20K, that was when I bought, and then it tanked. And so I was like, yeah, crypto sucks. Like, it's a scam. And, sure enough, in 2020, with the government printing all the money and everything, I'm like, dude, I think crypto is like, there's something to this. And the more I learned about Bitcoin, the more I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a thing for sure. Like, there's no doubt about it with how the government cannot control how much money they print, everything that there is. But then, I started learning about just the blockchain as a whole. And, you start seeing these things with NFTs and you're like, okay, what's going on here with these JPEGs? And, I didn't understand it. I'm just like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, I get it. It's art, whatever. But then you start seeing them come out with utility. And you see guys like Gary Vee talking about it, and like seeing him attach it to his conference. And, and then I see other ones producing all these things. I'm like, dude, this is the future of business. Like, I get it. And, you see Gary Vee talk about things long enough where he's been pretty accurate on everything. He's like, get on TikTok, get on YouTube, like, stuff matters. And him yelling at the top of his lungs about NFTs. And I'm like, okay, I need to research more. And the more I researched, the more I realized that, ironically, real estate is the biggest industry that is going to be impacted by the blockchain. And the moment I understood that, I was like, I'm all in. And I was like, I have to pursue this. Like, these are going to be my next businesses, because literally, I mean, real estate now today is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. And you can imagine that as that industry shifts towards all these new innovations with the blockchain, that's going to be a multi-trillion-dollar industry, whoever capitalizes on it. And so, I started to really talk about it and, present it in different events I spoke at and on YouTube and stuff. And the number one question I got asked was, people were like, okay, like, I agree with you, but where do I go? How do I learn more? And for me, as if you can't already figure it out for everyone listening, whenever I see an opportunity, I'm like, I guess I got to create a business. And so, I end up saying there's nowhere you can go learn about it right now. There really isn't. I guess if you want to learn about it, like, watch my videos whenever I do talk about it. But I'm like the only guy really passionate about it at this very moment, at least making videos and known. And I said, but I'm going to create the community where you're going to go and learn. And so that's exactly what TYKES is. TYKES is going to launch in mid-July. And, it's an NFT collection that if you buy, one NFT, you're going to get access to the community and think of it like a real estate mastermind, any real estate mastermind that you join, right? We're going to have trainings, we're going to have courses, we're going to have events, all the things that we have, normally in the real world, but they're all going to be geared towards, what I call digital real estate, anything to do with Web3 and real estate. And, my goal is to bring in all of the people, top real estate investors, top developers, top crypto experts, and have them all get together in this mastermind and see what happens. Because whenever you get really smart, passionate people into the same place, innovation happens from that. And so that's the goal, be the hub for that. But there's also a ton of other things that, we're doing just to kind of like prove the concept. One is with the NFT, if you stake it, meaning you kind of lock it up for a period of time, it will produce a cryptocurrency that we call TYKES. And with this TYKES, you're going to be able to buy all of these things in our TYKES ecosystem. And so it's like, the trainings we're talking about, you would use your TYKES to go, attend that training. These events, you would use your TYKES to attend the event. Our members are going to be able to offer products too and services. So it's like, all right, if they want to offer it on the marketplace, you pay them in TYKES, and it creates this whole ecosystem that no one's ever done before that I'm super excited about because it's literally revolutionary. And, like one other thing that I did, and this was just for fun, I didn't even need to do this, but just to prove the concept of what's going to be possible. I took one of my houses here in Vegas. It's a $1.5 million home. And I said, you know what? I'm going to NFT it. And I'm going to let my people in the TYKES community stay at it. They're going to be able to use their TYKES to purchase dates to stay at the property. And they're going to get an NFT for those dates, and they can go stay there, or they can go sell the NFT. They can go do whatever they want, but whoever has that NFT has the rights to go stay at that property for those dates. And I'm going to buy real estate all over the world, just sick real estate that people are going to be able to do that with, that, are in the TYKES community. It's just a perk. Like, I didn't even need to do that. Like the education part is cool, but this is just more of the marketing part of just like, who else is doing this, right? So that's going to be happening in the TYKES community. And there's going to be a ton of other stuff that happen along the way, but I'm really excited for it. And I'm excited to build that. But really what's happening is behind the scenes, I'm building other businesses for digital real estate to solve a lot of the problems that currently exist. So, not only am I building businesses, but there are other people that I'm talking to, and venture capitalists and other people that like are looking for different, like they know it's coming. And so everybody's trying to start the things that are going to end up being, billion-dollar companies. And that's what I see. I see like myself potentially building a billion-dollar company in this space. It's not going to be in, one of these, like this is the industry to do it. And so, potential problems to solve just for anyone listening, you're like, okay, I get it, but like, what are you even going to solve? What's the problem I don't know about? Well, one is syndications, right? Like people on the show probably are very aware of syndications and how they work, but like one of the big issues with syndications is liquidity, right? I have a fund. Anytime I have to go raise money, it's like, yeah, your money's going to be in the fund for the next 3 to 5 years. And that's a hard sell, man, because locking your money up is not fun, knowing that you can't really exit until, the GP wants to sell or refinance. Well, what if, you NFT'd those shares and they could be sold on the open market, right? So at any point you want to exit your position, you can, just like a stock, and it doesn't affect the deal itself, right? Like somebody else wants to take your position. Maybe you think the market's going to crash and you want to sell now. Maybe, you just want to cash out because you got a better opportunity or you need money. Who cares, right? But being able to trade on an open market and, have your shares be, tokenized is so big, and it creates this liquidity that doesn't currently exist in, normal syndication. So that's a huge issue. Like another problem to solve is just title companies, man. Like I don't think anyone I've ever met really likes paying title fees, like, or closing costs or anything, right? And they're so expensive for like, really at the end of the day, what they do. And, blockchain literally solves all issues for like all those fees. Like the reason you pay for title insurance is to make sure that the person selling you the home actually owns it. They don't owe, any of these crazy things, right? But if the house is on the blockchain, nobody can sell it except the true owner. Like they are the only ones who have access to the home on the blockchain. Like it cannot be transferred without their wallet. And this is already happening. People are already NFTing real world homes. People are already syndicating and trading, the tokenized funds and things with apartments. That's already happening. It's just not mainstream yet. And the moment it becomes mainstream, people are going to be like, well, why would I invest in this fund where my money's tied up for 5 years when I can invest in this one? And, yeah, I believe in it, but at least I have the option to sell at some point if I feel like it. Gives you more control as the investor. And, there are so many other things like, people are also asking about metaverse land and like, how do you invest in that with real estate? That's a whole nother topic that's going to be enormous as well. I would guess like the metaverse isn't something today that you should worry about, but 5 years from now, metaverse land and everything is going to be really big. So, dude, there's a whole frontier that's going to be massive. And I just kind of want to lead the forefront. And I think, everything we do at TYKES is going to educate, it's going to inspire, and it's going to I think we're going to start a lot of the businesses. And I think there's going to be a lot of millionaires and even billionaires made from what happens there.
Yeah, I can tell, Ryan, like it almost seems like all these businesses that you've already built are kind of leading into maybe somewhere for you in the digital space, and you just taking all the skills that you've been able to harness and create, just taking it into a new frontier. I mean, I could see that being massively successful for you as far as you're already starting to dip your toe in with the NFTs. But when you start to go down that path and see, oh, you can buy plots of land in the metaverse, and then you can open shops that sell actual real goods inside of the metaverse for people that want to use them, and there's actual functionality inside of those, and the possibilities are limitless, really. So it's really, really cool that you're one of the first people that are thinking about it in the real estate context. And I've actually seen it out there in a few different ways. The big challenge to overcome, I think, is when you're putting it on an open market. It's like, how do you evaluate what your property's worth specifically in that moment to do the trades? And then how do you have the other side available to necessarily make those trades? But those are all problems that are solvable, and they're coming. And maybe you're the one to solve it. So it's pretty cool.
Whoever solves a lot of these problems is going to make friggin' billions of dollars.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Exactly.
That's why I'm excited. It's like with any industry, right? It's like no matter how great of an entrepreneur you are, if you're not in the right industry or the right timing, then you're going to get a worse result than someone who is. So it's like, the dude who bought Bitcoin in 2013, he could have been the dumbest person ever, but he bought at the right time. Like he got lucky and he killed it.
Just like anything in the world, including real estate, the deal that you're trying to land, everything's about timing.
Yep.
So paying attention to that, I think, is that it's going to separate the people that really, like you said, make the billions versus those that are just kind of there.
Yeah, because people will adopt it, whenever that is. Maybe it's 5 years from now, maybe it's 10, right? And so they do it. But it's like when you have guys like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos who have the foresight to see where the world's going, it's like, yeah, dude, Tesla got started in 2008, dude, and it didn't gain mainstream popularity until, the last 5 years, really. And it took him so long to like educate people why electric cars were going to take over. And like gas companies are laughing at him, and, all these legacy motor companies, like, dude, nobody's buying electric cars. You can't do it. It's like, no, people are going to buy them, dude. And guess what, too? Cars are going to drive themselves one day. And, they're going to put everything out of business. And it's just like, yeah, Amazon had the same foresight of like, yeah, we're going to lose money the next 10 years because we know if we can get enough customers on Amazon, we're taking everything. It's winner take all. And all business works like that if you study.
Yep. Ryan, how can people reach you if they want to get a hold of you?
Yeah. So if you go to ryanpineda.com, you can see all my socials, see all my companies, kind of connect with me there. You can chat with my team and see which companies are a good fit. If you're interested in joining us at TYKES, you can go to tykes.io. That's TYKES.io. And you can join the revolution before we mint and really get this party started.
Awesome. Ryan, man, it's been such a pleasure to chat with you today. I think your story is incredible, and the things that you've accomplished are also. So I really appreciate your time and look forward to connecting with you in the future.
Cool, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.